a 14.069 lap. What is that in speed? Well, that in speed is close to 81 miles an hour.
Actually, average speed on a 14.069 is 85.209 miles per hour. Okay, now that is an average speed.
Average.
What we were wanting to do was check these guys at the end of the straightaway into turn 3 just to see what kind of speed we were getting. Unfortunately, we weren't able to do that because we were both in the tower and we were a little short-handed tonight at the racetrack. But we will be bringing that feature to you later on in the season again, and we'll talk some more about that. But, the qualifying tonight, I was really hoping to see track records threaten. It's always neat to see a piece of history, but,
we were talking about that because of the way it was.
Well, that's the prime weather. I mean, that's the kind of weather you see when track records are broke. I mean, it's cold outside. It's on the verge of rain. The track's got some moisture, some gray clouds. Tonight with the track, and he's become a master at it. Chris Nobziger gave these guys a track that did not rut up at all. I mean, it was starting to blow off a little bit and build a cushion, but that was, I think, would have made the track faster through the heat races, and the action we would have seen would have been awesome. But, that's the way it goes sometimes. It's dirt track racing, and Chris has started to realize, hey, look, I can give these guys a track that'll work high, that'll work low, and taking that knowledge has been passed down from Claire Arnold, and he's doing a fantastic job with that racetrack. Race fans, if you were there last week, you want to talk about something, if you were there tonight, you want to talk about something, give us a call, 541-991-2838. Give us a call here on the Moxie line. We'll take your call. We'll talk to you. We'll talk racing. Any of you guys that are tuned in live, hey, give us a call. Josh and I will talk to you.
Right. I'm actually talking to Josh Rogers right now. He's actually a Dorf driver. He races Northwest Dorf's. He lives up in Longview area. Got a chance to watch him a couple weeks when we had practice at Sunset. Very, very nice guy. Very, very fast car. He's actually talking to me right now. A lot of you guys are trying to figure out how to get the speaker app. Go to Google Play if you have Android, or go to if you have I believe Android, to go to your Google and go to Google Play. And search in Spreaker.
Spreaker. Spreaker. And you're going to find it. You're going to download it. Once you download it, you'll install it. You'll search for this broadcast, Corey Penfold. Like, follow, tune in live. It's very easy to do.
Very easy. Like I said, like Corey said too, if you want to, and if you want to call in, let us know.
Give us a call, 541-991-2838 on the Moxie line here in the Moxie studio. Want to talk with you guys that were there. It's always fun talking racing. This is what we do.
Right?
This is what we do. So give us a call and we'll shoot the breeze with you and talk about what you guys want to talk about. This is your show, race fans.
It's cool to to talk to race fans, just to kind of get their opinion on things. Talking about, we had a chance earlier to talk to, drivers on the off season. We had a chance, for these guys to have the opportunity to come down to the Heritage Mall here and show off their car prior to the season, like Darren Koffel's car. That, Driving Force Graphics, that car is absolutely beautiful with the way they did the wrap this year. Up at my area, Sunset Speedway Park, we have Finish Line Graphics 2-seater. Finish Line is doing a lot of things this year to benefit drivers. They're having our Winner's Circle. They're sponsoring that. Beautiful stuff. These guys are located out of St. Helens, Oregon. Look them up on Facebook. Or email Celeste or Todd over there at finishline.graphics. They are incredible people, work extremely well with you, and love what they do. They're very, very good with it. They send you a proof. You like what you like, or you want to change something, they're immediately right on it. I know they're extremely busy. They're extremely slammed. They have been for the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those guys they do great work. It's funny, you look at the competition between the graphics companies we have here in the Northwest that do just fantastic work. You got Finish Line, you've got Driving Force, you've got Showtime with Clay Devin. Charlie James putting out some beautiful looking race cars. It's really cool to see because you kind of see how these guys do different stuff. And
right.
you can now we're at a point where we can kind of look at a race car not knowing whose it is and say, oh, that was done by so-and-so, just because of the style of these guys and kind of how they put their own little flavor on what you tell them to do.
And that's the cool thing, too, is drivers will sit there and they have their own style. And not saying that this one is better than this one or this one is better than, but because these companies and the way they do stuff, Finish Line Graphics does it their way. They will do anything, anybody's way. I mean, they are so diverse just with Driving Force Graphics. Darren Koffel over there in Bend, they do what you want as a customer. And they come out with some beautiful, beautiful project. Just like Kevin Roberts, the number 88 IMCA modified up in our area, the Budweiser IMCA modified class. With Big Sky Landscaping, have just a great, great looking car. They are very, very cool at what they do. Some of these guys, some of these street stocks or whatever, they're coming out with wraps and everything else. You just, with the way technology and stuff is, we're coming from, a lot of the guys on the East Coast, the street stocks and all that, that's, the biggest thing is that they sat there and they, started the, wrapping their cars, and all we had was just the vinyl stickers and you did a little bit here and there, but now you see a lot of these street stocks coming, because it's now affordable. I mean, it's, some of the stuff is pretty elaborate, they go for a full wrap. And some of these guys just do half wraps, just the side panels and maybe the hood or a deck lid or whatever, whatever class they're doing. And it's very affordable. I mean, it's very durable. If you ruin a panel or something, then you can go and just have that panel made instead of having to, change everything. You can have just that section remade and have the car look as like it was when it first hit the track.
Yeah, it's always cool. And some of the creations we've seen to this point already. It's always fun to see, your favorite drivers with their new wraps and.
Let's talk about, you talked about, fast time and stuff. Let's talk about, what the points are right now down there at Willamette in the Outlaw class. Right now in
super late model.
I'm sorry. The number 111 of Joey Tanner. He's leading the points round right now with 112 points. Second place is Rob Mann, the 37 car with 108. Mind you, tied with third with the Superman car of Colin Weinbarger. Top four is Brian Conk in the 29 and the 01 with 105 points. And running out the top five is the 94 of Randy Boyd with 99 points. Super Sports, these guys have a tight battle too. In number 13, Randy Barley with 127. Second place is the 77, James Slover. Sorry, James, if you're listening. It's tongue-tied, I'm sorry. The number 11 of Larry Martinez. With 106. Chris Ramirez. Chris Mott with 104. Round out the top five is Drew with 101. These guys have, it's tight battle with these guys. These guys are running, extremely tight. Sportsman class, the 49, we talked about Tom Yak, 120 points. Chad
Slover right there. Slover gang's got some pretty good finishes this year.
Yeah, already. Second in points with 112. Eric Lindquist, 105. Clyde Road with 101, running out the top five in that class, in the sportsman class, is Jeff Rash with 100 points. It's such a tight battle. Watching these guys last week was so intense. I can only imagine what's going to happen, at the fastest quarter mile dirt track in the West. Banks, Sunset Speedway.
The bull ring, baby. The little red bull ring.
These guys are going to, it's going to be intense all year long, I can just tell you. And coming out with the street stock class and the points and stuff, Corey, that's another tight battle and stuff too.
Well, Justin Evans, as dominating as he was, only has a 3-point edge over Trent Custer, 126 to 123. Interesting thing here is Mikey Breakall, second-year driver.
Yep.
This, the 16-year-old girl, she sits in third with 118. Charlie Culpepper from up in your country, 103. And there's a tie for the fifth spot between Austin Botcher and Lauren Cruzy, as they both scored 100 points last week. So you got 6 cars in the top five with a tie for fifth place. And then, of course, with the Hornets, you had Tracy Muse 114 over 109 to Barry Lampert. We'll see what that Hornet class does.
I think that Hornet class and stuff is going to grow. A lot of these guys, especially a lot of fans too, they're talking about, when we had intermission last week about, hey, tell us a little bit more about the Hornet class, and just off, when we weren't up in the Moxie Tower talking about them, and you can go and find these cars all day long, Craigslist, whatever, and buy a cage or build your own cage if you're a fabricator, or call some of these, Discount Race Car Parts, Colin Weinbarger, out of Corbett if you're up from that area. They build cages, they do a lot of that type of stuff. That's just a little bit of who does that. But I mean, you can get into these cars inexpensive, $1,500, you have a race car. A lot of these race cars, are on, online to sit there and for purchase, and they're durable, they're fast. These guys are going from, that class up to a sportsman or a super sport or even up to a late model. Mm-hmm. But, these are a great beginner class. If you're, just wanting to get into it, inexpensive, not spend a ton of money. This is such a great sport to get into. With the Hornet class, we call them 4Bs up in my area, but it's the same exact class, same thing.
Yeah, it doesn't matter where you go. It's the same old thing, 4Bs, Hornets, 4-cylinders, Stingers.
Yeah, Stinger, all that.
But it is if you just want to go cheap racing, it's a great way to do it and get your kids involved, or if you want to move them up from the the karts up into the big classes, it's a good way to do it. So, Josh, what are we looking for next weekend? We've got you guys are running the Northwest Extreme late models up there at Sunset.
Yes, we are. We're running that. Again, I think we're going to get into Mother Nature, talking about how the 30 for 30. I think that's really what Mother Nature is going to do. Is it going to sit there and say, hey, you know what? We didn't want you to have your opener today. We want to have it next week, so 30 for 30. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. In running our schedule for next year is going to be, or running our schedule for this year for next week with Extreme Late Models. The modifieds aren't going to be there next week, but they'll, the sport mods and stuff will be there. They have the sport, the Northwest Sport Mod Challenge. They already started down there in Cottage Grove, and then bringing it up here. That's going to be a great battle.
That'll be interesting to see, because I think that's going to get some of those old sport mods that have been sitting around back on the racetrack and create more work for Steve Kurtzlevich.
Right. I think you're absolutely right too. Is that we talk about the sport mods and everything, and that's another class just right below the IMCA, and they're IMCA sanctioned, but the IMCA modifieds. These guys have to run a 3-link. And not a 4-bar car. They have to run a 2-barrel, and so their horsepower and stuff isn't as much as an IMC, as an A mod, what we call them, or IMCA mod. But they're a great class to get into. Very fast, very exciting to watch. They're as fast as anything else out there. They're turning in the times. Sometimes even faster than A mods, because they have less horsepower when the track turns dry slick. These guys can sit there and just put the hammer down and turn in some great laps. It's great side-by-side racing all the time. But the Bob Marley Memorial Race Street Stocks, we have the Extreme Late Models, the Super Late Models, IMCA Sport Mods, Bridgeport Logistics Street Stocks, and of course the Northwest Dorsal we were just talking about, of Josh Rogers, who I'm talking to right now on Facebook, asking a bunch of questions. They're going to be there. And, those Northwest Extreme Late Models, you talk about side-by-side racing, these guys are hammered
Everything
down.
is side-by-side in that bull ring that you're at, man. Those guys, you can't get away.
Right?
It's definitely not a horsepower racetrack. It's all set up, and you better have your car free to get around Sunset, because that is one tight little bull ring, and nobody right now, I can say, in the last 5 years has been any better at that than Batman, Mr. Walters. Greg has been very fast up
Greg's
there.
been very fast.
7 years in a row, he's won the Doug Walters Memorial. In fact, that race has only been held 7 times. He's won it all.
Well, T&D Trucking has came back, and this is the cool thing. T&D Trucking has came back to sponsor that race. And it's a great sponsor to have. These guys are very wonderful, putting out some great prizes, for this class. It's cool to see them back at the track. They were there for a little while and kind of went away. They kind of had their own thing, and then came back and said, you know what, we want to be part of this again. We want to make sure that we're part of this. And Walters, before he passed away, owned that company, and now it's, you know, back as a sponsor, and I think is going to benefit. You know, a lot of people are sitting there and saying, hey, you know, his kid is the one who won it last 7 years in a row. We got to do something to knock him off that pedestal. But he comes in and he's extremely fast. Yeah.
I mean, we saw him where it looked like he wasn't going to get that job done. A caution in the late stages. And what happened? The 97 car pulled it off in the end, and a little emotion in victory lane. That was kind of a cool deal. Going back to last season, talking about that, you know, the emotion in victory lane wasn't just Greg Walters. The Schramm brothers, you know, both Jimmy and Jerry were there. Both those guys, tears in their eyes as they honored, you know, their friend Doug Walters, and Steve Moore himself. You know, another guy that was close with Doug over there. Congratulations.